So we've been working together for about 17 years. And when we first started, you were a gym owner and you owned a gym and you trained people, trained clients. Okay. And then gradually opened 3 branches and eventually had 15 staff. Then you moved to education. So as well as training clients, you also started training people to be PTs. So do you want to talk about that, that process?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I first did my PT course when I was 26. Straight away, I opened my first location in Toaster. And at the time, it was personal training. We'll talk a little bit about the changes in the industry later on. But the time of group training and small group training things wasn't even a thing. So it was just one-to-one training. It's how I met you. You were actually a client, and then eventually you came on board in the business and things as well. But yeah, so we had that first location that ran pretty well. So we moved to a larger location, and at this point we only had maybe 3 or 4 staff, so it wasn't really difficult to find them and things. But as we grew and we opened more locations, we started to find that staffing the locations was actually harder than finding new clients. With a lot of marketing agencies these days, getting clients, getting leads coming in, we didn't really have a problem with that. But once we kind of got really busy in one site and we thought to open the second, that's when the staffing really became an issue. So we had to find different ways of finding staff.
Yeah. And trying different agencies like Indeed, what?
Yeah, so I think that's what most people start with, isn't it? So you kind of put an advert on Indeed, or you do something on Facebook. You start to interview people that come in. And I know, you in a past life, you did interviews, so you know all the problems with interviews. But we were finding, like I'm sure a lot of people who are watching this found, that you get people in and they're either not very experienced, they might have done an online course, they're not really ready to start training clients. Or the opposite happens, and you get someone who's got like 15 years experience. They're looking for a job and you think, wow, this is going to be great. We can just put them in with the clients. They're not going to need a lot of training. But what you actually find is they might be older than you. They've got more experience than you. They want to do things in their own way. They don't want to fit into the ethos of the business that you're trying to create yourself. So there's always, very difficult to find the right person. And we've all done interviews where you think this person's great, then they don't turn up for work the next day, or within a week you're thinking, how could I possibly have thought this person in an interview was good?
Yeah, the other thing is, of course, they don't necessarily fit in with the rest of the staff. They might be fine with the clients, but they don't fit in with the rest of the staff. And we both had that experience of somebody we thought was great, and they were not good with the rest of the staff.
Yeah, and they didn't fit in with our business. I think, we all, and anyone watching this who's building up 3 staff, 4 staff, you have this and you can kind of stomach it at first because it is only just one extra person that you're looking for, and eventually you can find somebody. But as you get busier and you need more people, and you're going to have more staff naturally leave as well, there needs to be a system in place for finding those staff. And that's when our education started. So kind of going back to that, we had a problem with the staff and we thought, I can't see how this is going to change. It's always the same. You put an advert out, you get people come in, you interview them, you spend half an hour with them, and then you've got to offer them a job within your company. Yes, you can get a bit more clever and you can have different days where they come in, they shadow, but again, really you're only spending a couple of hours with them, even if you've got a good system. So we kind of looked right back and thought, well, how can we change this totally? And the idea was, if we train our own staff to be personal trainers, not only can we put our own ethos into that course, but we're going to see how those people are over a 10-week period, over 40 hours. Can anyone fool you for 40 hours? Anyone can say they're jolly people. And, what have we read on every interview we've ever got is, I work well on my own and very well in a team situation. Every CV in the world says it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
So that's when we decided, with your educational background of 40 years, that we were going to actually create with me, you, and Kieran, our head of education, our own course, so we can put people through that and qualify people. But then maybe we could cherry pick the best people for our own gym, knowing what kind of personality they have. And you're not guaranteeing jobs to anyone, but you're saying for somebody there might be a job opportunity. And what we found is everybody wants to work for the person that actually taught them. So since we started that, 8-9 years ago, the staffing has never been an issue ever again, because we're always cherry picking the best people from our own courses. But the kind of cherry on the cake is, the first year of us running our own courses, we actually made an extra £50,000 from the course fees.
Right. So do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah. So I suppose it's when we had our kind of light bulb moment, if you like, in the business, where we thought, well, if we've got an issue and we own one gym, going to 2 gyms, we're looking for more staff, and we've got this problem. If we can fix it for ourselves by finding as many staff members as we need, and making an extra £50,000 with not really a lot more overheads, maybe all the other gyms in the country have got the same problems. So we started working with a few other gyms that we know personally to kind of look at the idea of running this education through their centres and everything else. And 9 years later, we're now working with 134, I think it was when I looked this morning, 134 gyms across the UK and Ireland, helping them run their own courses and making that extra revenue.
Right, yeah. So tell me about they're running their own courses. Because I know that a lot of people don't like the idea of running somebody else's course. So how you
definitely.
that?
We looked at this very early on, and we looked at like a franchise model, which means everyone who works with us would be running our course. But we looked at that and thought that doesn't really fit in with what I know people in the industry want. They want something that's on brand with their own gym, their own merch they've got, their own kind of brand and things. So we went down a different route of like a licensing, where we white label the product. So when you're teaching the personal training courses to the students, it looks like they are teaching their own course, not our course.
Right.
But it is our course. We do everything underneath, all the red tape stuff, all the difficult stuff. So you can then just teach the course to the students.
Yeah. Another thing that people are often worried about, and this question comes up, is it an authentic course?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and they're right to ask that, because there's so many courses out there now. I mean, the authenticity thing is one thing, but there's even authenticized courses that are still terrible. Fully online courses. People want to be a personal trainer, but they're learning from videos in their bedroom. They never meet, a real person, a real coach, an experienced coach that's done hundreds of hours, of personal training. So I think the first thing is all our courses are, Ofqual approved, recognised by SIMS, but all the rest of those things, guaranteed insurance for anyone that qualifies. But the big difference between all our courses is they offer the 40 hours of face-to-face delivery. Right. So you've got a gym owner that has done hours and hours, sometimes decades of personal training, group training. So who is the best person to teach the next generation of personal trainers? A college lecturer that's learned everything from a book, maybe has never even offered a personal training session in his life, or a personal trainer, gym owner, lives and breathes it, in the gym every day, working with clients. Is that the person you want to learn from?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I first did my teacher training course, back in the day, that was a thing that we all said, well, what do these lecturers know? They've not stood in front of a class of pupils, for years and years, if ever.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the one downside to it is a lot of the personal trainers, gym owners, they're really confident about the practical elements of a personal training course. If I talk to them about program design, how to do the different exercises, regressions and progressions of exercises, warm-ups and cool-downs, they know that. That's their bread and butter. It's what they're doing all day, every day. Now, the ones that are honest with me, and we have this honest conversation, they're a bit nervous about teaching, for example, like anatomy. We've all learnt the sliding filament theory. We've all learnt the endocrine system. But how many clients ever ask you about that? And the answer really is going to be like maybe 1 in 10 years of coaching. So you get rusty on those things, and maybe you understand the principles of it, but you certainly couldn't stand up and teach it. So how we've developed our courses is we have experts on all fields of the theory to come to us, and we've filmed, written, done all the lectures, video lectures, written lectures on all the theory side. So the students can learn that in their own time from home. But their bread and butter, what they really need to learn face to face, is the practical. And that's the bits that they are absolutely fine with. That's the bit they really love to teach. That's what they actually really want to do. They don't want to be teaching things that they know is not really relevant moving forward. Now, we can't take that out of the course. That's why it's an official course. But again, spend the time with the personal trainer on the things that are going to be the most useful when you become a PT. Learn the theory at home in your own time.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's still one of the difficulties that people face, and I don't think it's a real difficulty, but they're frightened of the idea of being a teacher. Yeah. I'm not a teacher, so how am I going to teach this? Yeah. It's different from training clients.
Definitely, and I think this is something you talked to me about so many times. When we think of a teacher, you just go back to what your school teacher was like, or what your personal trainer coach was like, and you think that's the way you do it. Where no, it isn't. People want hands-on experience. What actually happens in a gym? What happens when someone can't put a bar on their back because they can't squat? How do you on that moment kind of choose different equipment, choose a different exercise? They're the things you need an experienced personal trainer. And most personal trainers watching this, some will be very confident, I could do that. Others might be like you say, I don't know, I've not taught before. You're teaching every day. You're teaching one-to-one, teaching group. There's no difference. You're just teaching it at a bit of a lower level, if you like, because you're starting right from the beginning again. So there's no worries about that.
Yeah, there is the thing though, that you've got 10 weeks of 4 hours. So how do I fill that time? Yeah. Talk to me about that. How we've helped them.
Yeah. So just to be clear, each course that a personal trainer is going to take the students through is 10 weeks long. And you offer a 4-hour face-to-face workshops with the student each week for 10 weeks. That's 40 hours of face-to-face altogether. Now, we've actually gone to the trouble of creating all the lesson plans, what you have to teach in which order, what you have to teach, how you have to teach it. Everything is literally done for you. And then we offer 24-hour support where you can just book a call, say, I don't understand this bit, how do we do it? And we just let you know what you've done, what you need to do. Right. So all those things are literally built into the program that we sell. So you just do it. Now, after you've taught 1 or 2 courses, you might want to teach things in your own way, in a bit of a different style, in a bit of a different order. Those things are also absolutely fine. We don't want to make lemmings and everyone has to do exactly the same thing. We've just done that to make your life as simple as possible when you first start. So instead of all these questions in your head, what am I going to do on week 1? What am I going to do on week 2? We've got everything broken down into lesson plans, every 15 minutes, what you need to do and how you need to do it.
Right, yeah. What about the marking? It's the bane of every teacher's life.
Yeah, so again, we have an in-house team that do marking, assessing, dealing with all the governing bodies. You don't have to worry about that. You have to collect the booklets from the students. You have to film them doing their practical assessment, which again, we have everything that you need for that. You send everything to us and we take care of all those bits that you don't like doing.
Right, okay, yeah. Another question. When we first started in our town, there were 2 gyms, us and the local sports centre, and now there are 6. Everybody must feel that the same. Gyms are opening all the time. So how do you stand out?
Yes, I mean, you're absolutely right. I think, it's unfortunately in the gym industry, it is actually fairly easy to open a gym. You find a space, you lease even the equipment, you start. So I think the fact that more and more places are opening, yes, we can moan about it and we know that some are better than others and that kind of stuff, but what you've got to do is take that control of it and think, well, okay, more gyms are opening, but what can we do that they can't? How do we stand out from the crowd? So for example, if you didn't know me, you didn't know anything, there was 2 gyms in that town. One of them is a personal training studio, for example, or a group training studio. One of them is a personal training group studio and a PT academy that trains personal trainers. Which one would you kind of err towards a little bit?
Yeah.
You're thinking, well, that's more professional.
Yeah.
They obviously know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Now,
definitely.
there is enough business out there for everyone, but I think it's constantly looking at reevaluating your own business, looking how you can make those changes to keep moving and progressing, because they're the businesses that don't fail. They're the businesses that work long term. The businesses that go, no, we just do this, they're the ones where eventually they start to go down because they're not moving with the times. And I mentioned in that little talk I just said there about personal training and group training. When we opened our first personal training studio, there wasn't any, there was no such thing as group training.
No,
Right. The only thing people knew as group training was circuit training in a leisure centre kind of thing. So one big change has gone from the PT to the group training. Now, if you're still doing personal training now, you're probably going to be struggling a lot more than if you change to the group training. You're earning more money per hour, etc. The next big change we've seen, which has come from us in the industry, is you need an extra revenue stream. And yes, there's things like selling protein bars and a bit of jumpers and things, but this is tiny. With all the rates that have gone up by, I hear it all the time from people we work with, our rates have gone up by 50%, all the overheads are going up so much. The way to run a successful business in our industry now is the group training model plus a PT academy means you're going to bring in that extra 50 grand of revenue a year, which is going to help with all those overheads that you've got coming in, but it's also going to backfill all those places that you're looking for with staff. You're not going to have to spend money on adverts anymore. You're not going to lose customers when the staff suddenly disappear or leave, because you've got that system in place. And I always look back to an old book I read years ago, the E-Myth. If you've got a shop that's selling apple pies, you want to be growing your own apples. So you're not reliant on anybody else in that chain. And we've all got systems in place in the business where you kind of, you're running adverts, you've got leads coming in, your salesperson follows up on the lead, sells them into a front-end offer, maybe a 6-week, an 8-week offer, challenge, whatever it might be, then selling them into a monthly membership after that, and that's fairly standard, in our industry. But no one's doing this on the staffing side. So when a staff member leaves, or if you've got a bigger gym and you might have 10 staff, you might get 2 staff leave at the same time. Chaos happens. The owner gets thrown back into the business and there's no system in place. Where if you've trained 30 people this year, you go back to the database and you go, hi, we've got a job available. You did one of our courses. We'd like to offer it to you guys before we put it out there on Indeed and other sites and things like that. And that helps you fill it with somebody you already know and you've spent 10 weeks with. But at the same time, from those 30 students that you put through, you've made 60,000 in revenue because you're charging £2,000 per student on the course. So it's kind of killing 2 birds with one stone.
So what would you say is the biggest advantage of opening an education academy and teaching people to be personal trainers, group trainers?
I think I'd like to put the others over. I still think the money side of it, earning an extra £50,000 a year from the overhead you've already got, probably does trump most things for most people. But there will be people that have got to that stage where they've got 5+ staff, possibly thinking about a second location, or they have a new location. At that stage, the money probably goes secondary and the staffing becomes absolutely, the number one. And a lot of people you talk to, they'll say, I haven't got a staffing problem. No, that's fine. But we know from having a gym for 20 years, it's round the corner at some point if it's not happening now. And you can't just wait for that to happen and then start running around like a headless chicken.
Can I just go back to this? We've covered it, but this business of it being an authentic course, kind of off-qual and the governing body, and you've mentioned that. Do you want to talk about that to reassure people that this is a gold standard course?
Yeah, absolutely. So off-qual, I mean, most people listening to this will have heard of, in the past it was REPS, SIMSPA, most people will have heard of those kind of companies.
Yeah.
Now, you want the course to be recognised by those companies because then students can join their registers, they can get discounts off other things, different insurances. That's one thing. But off-qual actually sits at the top, and this is the governing board of examinations
isn't it the Office of Qualifications, the Government Office of Qualifications and Examinations?
Yes, that's not just for personal training, not even just for fitness. That is for qualifications in the whole of the UK.
Right, yeah.
So our course is a personal training course. The level 2 is the gym instructor, which is the equivalent of a GCSE.
Yeah.
And the level 3 is equivalent of an A level, and that's the personal training part of it. So your qualification when you come out of this is a GCSE and an A level. It's a level 2 and a level 3, and because you're doing them all within one course, you are giving them the diploma in personal training. And that is the qualification that all gyms are looking for if they're going to hire someone. Now, a smaller gym might not look at all that and be so interested, but if someone's going to get a job at Fitness First or Pure Gym or whatever it might be, they're all the things that they need to see to offer a student a job are all ticked. And we even work with some insurance companies ourselves to guarantee that anyone who passes our course can get insurance. Now, students can go anywhere. They can go to any insurance company, but we just want to make sure we're kind of ticking that off, that they can go to one that we work with, they get a discounted insurance. We're not making any kind of kickback, anything like that. We just want to make sure when students pass the course, there's no fears of, am I going to be able to set up as self-employed? Yes, you can. Am I going to be able to get a job in one of the big chain gyms? Yes, you can. All options are open to you.
Yeah. So to final, give me that, those 3 things again, those 3 advantages of having an education academy and teaching people to be personal trainers.
So make extra 40 to 60 grand a year, find unlimited staff for the gym, stand out from the crowd of all the other gyms that are kind of, opening in your area.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No worries.